Greetings, fans of Birthright. This is a video that people seem to have been requesting. Those who do not have this game or know how to get it to run on their modern machines, modern Windows. This video will show you how to get the game, how to install it, how to run it. So first, I will address the people who do not have the disc but want to play this game, because this is probably the more complicated setup. You need a couple of different things. One, you need the game, either an ISO disk image, an emulator to run the disk image, or believe there is an abandonware copy of the game that doesn't need a disk or a drive. But I've never tried it. But it's easy to find, and if you want to try it at your own risk. So scroll down, and right there, myabandonware.com. Oh yeah, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Birthright Gorgon's Alliance on GOG. It's not on GOG. This is just a search that comes up on their wish list. There are thousands and thousands of people who have put in this game on GOG's wish list. Unfortunately, they'll never be able to get it because of licensing problems with Tera. So anyway, myabandonware.com. Here we are, Birthright, Gorgon's Alliance, DOS, also available on Windows. You can download the game right here. This is the DOS version. Click on that for Windows version. Well, okay, so it looks like the Windows version is just a disk image. 509 megabytes. An alternative ISO version. So this looks like these are disk images, not just the game itself. They just you can just install and run. And now these patches here, I'm not sure. The patch I use is not that. I have a patch that I use from somewhere else, and also I'm going to show you where I got my patch and my scene editor and character editor from, because I'm not sure about these, and a manual. So anyway, here's the disk image. So I guess for this you would need to have the CD-ROM emulator. DOS version demo. We don't want a demo. All right, well, it's just a disk image then. There is no just exe running the game. It's got to be done the hard way. So you get this disk image. Now the next thing you will need is the CD-ROM emulator. And for that, there may be more than one. I don't know how many CD-ROM emulators there are out there, but the one that I'm familiar with is called Daemon Tools. And it's you'd want this the free version here, Daemon Tools Lite. I have it right here. Now I do not have the disk image because I actually have the CD, but I'm gonna just glance at the program here to show you basically what you need to do. in order to install it. All right. Now, I haven't used Daemon Tools in like 15 years, but I'm sure that it's basically still the same. Let's see, add and adjust to virtual drives, add a drive. Let's see, TT. Mount to drive letter. Well, let's just say J. Folder. Not sure what to do with that. No. Birthright. Folder is invalid. All right, what about? Okay, that's mount to drive J. Oh, here we go. I click add drive. Okay, so now the drive looks like it's mounted right there. Advanced image mount. Let's see, you want to use the virtual drive. I'm not sure what that means. Mount to the drive F that we have here. And I guess this is where you would create a folder. Folder is invalid. I'm sure there's something I'm missing here. What about quick mount? Okay, so I guess you'd find your ISO and then you'd select your ISO here and then click open. And I think that's probably the way it works. But once you've done that, once you mounted your Birthright ISO to drive whatever letter you made, for the purposes of this video, we'll just say drive E, because that's what I'm using for my actual CD-ROM drive. So I'll get out of there. Now, assuming that you've done that, gotten the disk image and mounted it, and got the mount, the emulator working, and you have a drive letter, the next thing you need to do is to go and open DOSBox. If you don't have DOSBox, well, I guess you're going to have to get that too. It's pretty simple. Most of the stuff you can just get just from Googling it. So, like, just type in DOSBox. Boom, there it is. Very simple. And then get the latest release, manual, tutorial. It's been released. To see. Where is it? Where do you download it from? I don't see a link. Downloads. Okay, here we go. Click here to download DOSBox 7.4-3 for your operating system. So that would be, I guess, Windows right here. I guess there's a few hoops to jump. Oh, there it goes. It just downloaded right there. Of course, I already have DOSBox. My DOSBox is probably a bit older because I have Haven't updated my DOSBox in years, but it's going to be basically the same. So there you would have it. You would install it, and then you would run it, and you would come to this. Hopefully this isn't too slow and boring for you. When I make videos like this, I try to be as detailed as possible and as clear and understandable as possible, and try to cover every facet of every detail so that nothing is missed and leaves nobody asking questions. All right, so you've got your daemon tools, you've got your disk image, you've mounted your CD-ROM drive and mounted the disk image to your CD-ROM drive, which is now drive E. You've got DOSBox, and you've started up DOSBox. Now you're ready to go. Now for DOSBox, whenever you run a game on DOSBox, and you run DOSBox itself, like from this, from the icon here, the reason why I say that is because there are some games that are just set up to start DOSBox and mount and do all that stuff automatically for you when you start the game that uses the DOSBox, and you don't have to go through this process. But for this game, you do, because Birthright is old and nobody has access to the codes or the licensing, so you have to do it the hard way when you play this game, which is not actually that hard. Alright, so now the stuff that I'm about to tell you is stuff that you can find in the DOSBox manual. You have to do two things. One, you have to mount your CD-ROM drive on DOSBox, and you have to mount your C drive on DOSBox. You need both of those things. The first step is to install the game. In order to install the game, we must mount the drive. Pretty simple, the commands. Mount drive E as CD-ROM drive E. There's a little dash T space CD-ROM, enter. That's it. Mount drive E as drive E dash T CD-ROM. Drive E is now mounted as CD-ROM E. Drive E. Okay, so we've got that part done. Now we need to mount the location to where the game will be installed. Now, before you install you want to create a folder for the game to go to. In my case, I have it on my storage drive D, which is a hard drive, and I have created a folder called Games, which is where I pretty much have lots of my old games. And then once you created your games folder, you can now install it to that games folder. First, you must mount that games folder. Now, DOSBox requires you to set up a C drive. So whatever you type in here, DOSBox will recognize as the C drive, no matter what it is. You don't want to actually enter in your C drive. You don't want to do this. You don't want to type mount C. You don't want to do that. I personally haven't done it, but I have heard bad things happen. So if you did that without any folder or directory, it would put all the game files just on the C drive. And I don't know I'm not really sure if something bad happens, but it could just be messy, because the C drive, all the game files might get mixed in with other files, if there are any system files, crap like that. It's always easier just to create a folder to put it in. Okay, so I'm sorry, that colon's not supposed to be there. So we want to mount the C drive as, in my case, drive D, :/ games. And that's it. Drive C is now mounted as local directory D games. So now my directory D games is what DOSBox thinks is the C drive. Does that make sense? Cool. Now we're not on the C drive yet. We are on Z. We are on the Z. So we have to change it to the C drive. And that's very simple. You just type in C. I'm sorry, C:. That's it. C:. Boom. Now we're on the C drive, which is D games. So I can show you. If I type in directory, it'll show you all the stuff that was in my D drive, or in my games folder. Okay, now, anyway, now we want to install the game. So we must install it from the disk, which is on your Daemon Tools emulated CD-ROM drive number, which we already mounted. So we want to switch to the E drive, which is just E:. Boom. Now we're on the E drive. At this point, it gets a lot easier. Now you type install. Boom. It is now running the bat executable install program that is on the drive, on the disk drive. I'm not going to go through the whole installation process because I already have the game installed and I don't want to mess anything up because I have some edited stuff. So anyway, now we have this. Now, by the way, if this is too small for you to read, DOSBox has a feature which is pressing Alt plus Enter makes it full screen. Okay, so press Enter to continue or Escape to cancel. Well, when you get to this point, you just you hit Enter, you follow the prompts, you answer the questions, you choose the directory where the game's going to be installed to. Should be able to figure it out from there, I hope. So we're going to back out of that. And if there was a program running and you quit the program, it just bumps you back to the DOSBox window with your latest prompt, which for me was the CD-ROM prompt. So if I wanted to keep doing something here, I could. Now, fast forward, the game is now installed. You have the game installed. You know where the directory is, where you installed it. Now you want to run the game. So we have to go back to the C drive, which is where the game is installed. C:. Bing. All right. Now there's two ways we can go from here. One, I can manually type in the change drive to the extra steps of the directory, but I find it's easier just to restart DOSBox and do everything over again. Although either way, it probably doesn't save any time. But if I do it the other way, you might be able to remember a lot easier how to do it, because whenever you play the game, you'll be starting from scratch no matter what. So we'll close that. We restart the DOSBox so that it refreshes everything back to default. Now we have to mount everything again, and I guess it's probably better because now you get to see how it's done again and help you remember. So we want to mount. Now you can do it either way. You can mount the C drive first, or you can mount your CD-ROM first. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which order you do it in. So E for me, dash TC CD-ROM. Drive is mounted. Mount C as my storage drive D, : oops, not S. C as d:/games. Now here's where you gotta, so assuming that you have done what I've done, created a games folder and installed the games to that folder, well, now you have to enter in the path for the rest of the game folders. So after you've installed it, there will now be new folders created inside of your games folder, and those will be Sierra, Birthright. I know it's short for Birthright, but that's how they did it. Now you don't have to add the little extra slash at the end, but I always do. It doesn't. You don't have to. It's just I just do it out of habit. There. Now drive C is mounted as local directory D games Sierra Birthright. So if you've done everything right up to this point, this is what you would see. Directory, whatever your drive letter is, whatever game folder you created, and then the folders for the game. Now we want to switch to that drive. C:/enter. And now you can breathe a sigh of relief because we are right where we want it to be. Ready to play the game. The bat executable, if you hadn't already looked into the games folder to see what it is, I think there's probably 2 or 3 different executable file names you could type in to start the game, but the simplest one is just BR for Birthright. BR. Boom. If everything was done right, this is what you would see. Now, you would press Alt and Enter. You're going to want to remember that for DOSBox games, because it works for every DOSBox game everywhere. Alt Enter, full screen. Alt Enter, back to the small window. Alt Enter, back to full screen. Now we're ready to play the game. And this is where this video ends. Now if I were to quit, if you quit the game, it just goes back to the C prompt on DOSBox. Minimize it, and if you wanted to, you could just type BR and start again. Pretty simple, right? Right. Well, that's just about it for this video. The next video I will get into editing, character editing and scene editing, and I will go through how to do that.
1500
Take care
years
now.
ago,
Bye bye then.
struggle began between